it's probably no surprise who our guest is today, but for the sake of the episode, I'm gonna hit this bio for you.
I can't look at you right now.
I know. Right. It's okay.
All right.
We're gonna get through this.
Okay.
Well, our featured hitmaker today is a Mississippi native and Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, and producer living in Nashville, Tennessee. He broke into the industry co-writing Charlie Puth's "Patient," which catapulted his career into cuts with Morgan Wallen, Justin Timberlake, Jelly Roll, Big X The Plug, Bailey Zimmerman, Dierks Bentley, John Legend, Ava Max, Thomas Rhett, Kane Brown, Hardy, Weezer, Dasha, and more. Crazy. How many number ones does he have? 11. With an endless list of hobbies and interests, including standing at 6 feet tall and training to dunk a basketball, he is a true Renaissance man, devout husband, and incredible conversationalist. His social battery never seems to run low. He's a true friend and a Southern gentleman who will give you the shirt off of his back, yet stands on business when it counts. Born with a curious mind and an unfiltered passion for life, he brings a magnetic energy into every writing session he enters, no matter what genre he's writing. On Hitmakers, this country boy refused to be a fish out of water and dove right in swimming with the best of them, proving to be the powerhouse that he is and earning his nickname. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not just Ben. He's the biggest Ben.
Hey, that was awesome. Well
Ben Johnson.
done. Well done.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm interviewing my co-host. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh my God, of course. How'd you get in? It's nice to sit down. I'm excited for people to get to know you more.
Me too.
You know, you're an open book, so we know a lot. You know, I feel like we know who Ben is after this show.
Do you?
I mean, you're a multi-layered guy, but
Yeah.
I feel like you wear your heart on your sleeve. So you're very transparent and
Yeah, which is funny because I don't wear sleeves a lot.
which is funny because you don't wear sleeves really ever. But yes, want to get to know you more for people that don't know you.
Yep.
And I want to start with your upbringing. So you're from Mississippi.
Yeah.
What was it like to grow up in Mississippi?
Man, I love growing up in Mississippi. I grew up in a small town called Meridian. And most folks don't really know or have never heard of Meridian. But if you listen to country music, you might. Jimmy Rogers, who is known as the father of country music, he is from Meridian. And so, you know, growing up, had a lot of country influence. People always ask me, like, oh, did you grow up super country? And I would say, like, I grew up more like small town than country.
Okay.
And our town, you know, Mississippi's pretty sparsely populated. Like, our town is, I think, the second or third biggest city in Mississippi, but I think we had like 30,000 people. So, yeah, Mississippi's doesn't have many big towns. So
30,000 people. So Nashville must feel big to you.
Yeah, Nashville was a big adjustment for me because I grew up in Meridian all the way up until I was like almost 20. I mean, I lived in the same house, same bedroom. Like, yeah.
Oh my God.
My grandparents lived down the street. My uncle lived down the street. Like, our whole family was there. And like, you know, my grandma grew up in Mississippi. You know, like, it was like generations of our family grew up in our town. And so it was like, not only is it a small town where everybody knows everybody, but everybody knows like my grandparents, you know, and then their parents. And it's like, it goes a long way back. Right. So, but, you know, a lot of people, feel a certain type of way about growing up in a small town. And I feel very fortunate to grow up in a small town.
I was going to say, what is like the downfall and the benefit of growing up in a small town? Yeah,
I think the benefit is like you form a really, really close-knit community. Mm-hmm. And it is like circumstantial because you can't help but run into the same people all the time, you know? Right. And it's like, if you want to hang out with somebody, like, I remember growing up, and if somebody lived 10 minutes away, I was like, that is so far away. Like, should we even try to get together tonight? Like, that seems like a stretch, you know?
Right.
And so, I don't know.
That's
it's just
so funny.
Yeah, it blew my mind when I moved to Nashville, which, you know, to me is a massive city. And I was like, oh, wait, they're like 20 minutes away. This is crazy. You know?
So what does LA feel like to you?
LA feels impossibly large. That's why, you know, we do have a place here, but I have a hard time envisioning myself ever living in LA.
Right.
We're in LA right now. But I have a hard time envisioning myself living here just because, like, I think I always say, you know, you can be downtown Nashville and you can drive 20 minutes in any direction and you can get to the country. You can get to some wide open spaces. In LA, it's like you drive 2 hours in any direction and you're still seeing the same like corner strip mall thing. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So
it's a road trip if you want to.
Yeah, it really is. So I love LA. I really do. And I like working out here and the weather's amazing. amazing and the food's amazing and, you know, all the stuff. But just the size of it is a little tough for me. But yeah, so far as like drawbacks growing up in a small town, I think, you know, you can get some like cyclical thinking. You know, it's like everybody, man, I read this book called like Where Great Ideas Come From. And most breakthroughs we have in the world so far as technology, science, all that stuff come in populated areas because you have a lot of like strange interconnections of people from very diverse backgrounds, right?
Sure.
And sometimes you need these like weird things to form these synergistic type, you know, routes.
Yes.
To come up with like new thoughts and new ideas and breakthroughs. And it's like, so I think sometimes in small towns, maybe you could get a little bit like, oh, this is just the way it is. Or like everybody I know thinks the same thing.
Sure. Great for sense of community, but maybe not always great for growth.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. And you know, I grew up in a real musical family. So like I said, my grandma lived down the street. And when I was, let's see, I think I was 6. She started teaching me piano lessons. Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of how I first got into music. And it was funny, like a lot of people don't know this about me, but at my core, I am a very introverted person. I know you don't believe that, but growing up, like my mom, like you ask my mom, till I was like probably 10 years old, I was so quiet.
Really?
I loved to read. I started reading very young. I was like 3 when I started reading. And by the time I was 6, I was just reading everything I could. And I just loved to read and stay on my own, be myself. But I remember my grandma started teaching me piano. It's kind of funny when we interviewed Faraz. I remember he said he was like making up stuff. And I was very similar. Like I didn't like the way that Mozart sounded. So I would just change it, you know, to make it sound like I wanted to. And I guess that was kind of my first foray into like creating versus, you know, like reading.
Well, I want to talk about your sisters who I've met, worked with, and adore. They're great girls. Talk to me about your sisters.
Yeah. So Jenna is my older sister. KK is my younger sister. I'm right in the middle child. And yeah, they're amazing. They've been my best friends like ever since we were young. Like it's funny. A lot of people ask like, oh, did y'all get in fights and stuff? Like we did, like siblings do. Yeah. But you know, I just remember as far back as I can remember, they've been my best friends. So like we'd always hang out. Our friend groups were kind of like similar, overlap. Like
30,000 people for sure.
Yeah, you got to, right? Yeah. But you know, we all moved to Nashville together. Like we have a very strong bond. And
you moved to Nashville to make it in music?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So
you guys were all into music at a very young age. What's the age difference between you guys?
Yeah. So I'm the middle child, and then Jenna is 1.5 years older than I am, and then KK is 4 years younger than I am.
Got it.
Yeah. So we all started piano lessons with my grandma, and then kind of as we got older, I remember when I was 9, and I think I said this on somebody's episode, but I decided I wanted to play the bassoon.
Right.
And my mom was like, only losers play bassoon. You can't play the bassoon, you know? So she played flute, so she knew. Yeah. And so I was like, well, what's like the string equivalent of a bassoon? She said the cello. Yep. So then I started playing cello when I was 9. And the crazy thing is like our town was so small. We didn't have a cello teacher like really in our town. Yeah. So I had to drive an hour and a half to get cello lessons each way.
That dedication.
And my granddad, shout out to my granddad because he... we also couldn't afford cello lessons. Like we didn't have money or anything. So my granddad, I saved up and bought my cello. My mom's thing was like, hey, if you want to play an instrument, you're gonna have to save up and buy it. So, you know, I did like all these little odd jobs that a 9-year-old can do. Went and picked up pine cones, you know, in the neighborhood, all that stuff. And I saved up $100 and I bought my first cello on eBay. What? And then my granddad drove me to Hattiesburg, Mississippi every Friday for about 5 years.
Oh my goodness.
Hour and a half each way.
Wow.
And I took cello lessons.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So were you in a band with your sisters or what was the...
No, so we kind of started the band. We all were playing different instruments. Jenna knew 3 chords on guitar. I knew 2 chords on the mandolin. Okay. And so she said, well, y'all should go play at this nursing home. And I think a lady from our church was there. So we played, we learned Jambalaya by Hank Williams. Oh. And we went and played at this nursing home, and then like other nursing homes like started talking about it. So then we play at other nursing homes.
Not word of mouth with the nursing
Crazy
homes.
Word of mouth, yeah. So
hey, you know, you get there how you got to get there.
You get there. I mean, you got to start where you got to start.
Sure.
And yeah, so it was kind of crazy. I was probably 12, and KK was 8. So it's kind of nuts that that's how it started. And literally we never promoted ourselves or anything. It started, I mean, we only knew 3 songs for about like 3 years, but we would go around to all these different places, and it kind of spiraled to where we started playing like Dollywood and Silver Dollar City and like all these bluegrass circuits. And we had no idea what we were doing, but we were just having fun, you know, playing around. And we ended up doing X Factor.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever talked about this. So this is breaking news right here.
Wow.
We did X Factor the first year it was in the US, right?
Okay.
And we auditioned with instruments, and then we got on the show, and I don't know if it's like this anymore. I don't even know if X Factor exists, but they were like, you can't use instruments. And so we were like, well, we don't really know how to do anything else other than instruments. So
you're like, I brought my cello.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so we ended up just singing a cappella, like, and so we got up on stage for Simon and Paula and a Nicole Scherzinger and I think L.A. Reid.
No. What year was this?
Probably 2011.
That was your first encounter with L.A. Reid.
Yes. No way he remembers me from that, and I hope he doesn't.
You didn't feel like standing up and reminding him? Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, it actually went pretty well. I think everyone liked us, and we got passed through, went to Hollywood, right? I remember it was my first time, I think, on a plane.
How old are you?
I think I was like 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd never been on a flight before, and
how'd that go?
that was amazing. I was like, we are big dogs, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we landed at the airport, and I'll never forget. There was other people from the cast on our flight, and we walked off the plane, and there's cameras. And the cameras were following some people off the plane, but they weren't following us.
So Ben, Hitmakers was not your first hit with reality TV.
Well, wait until you hear the end of the story. Okay. So literally, I was like, that's not a good sign. And then we stayed in Hollywood, I think, for 3 days. And then there was like 100, or maybe not quite 100, maybe like 60 people or whatever. And like 60 people played for the next phase, and we were number 60 out of 60.
Wow.
You know, and it was like, I remember we went to play, and like 2 of the judges had like left because it had been too long, and so there's only 2 judges left, and we played, and I was like, that's probably it. And then we got PF Chang's that night. I remember that,
of course,
and that was a big deal. That was a big deal. And then we were like, oh no, we got, I don't even know if we got voted off. We were just like, okay, y'all didn't make the next round. And then we flew back. And on the way, you know, we're like sitting first class. It's super nice. And then on the way back, I remember they put us like by the toilets. And it was just like, oh man, this is not a good feeling.
Damn.
Yeah, we went from here to here real fast.
Right.
And, but yeah, at the same time, it was like such a good learning experience of like, okay, yeah, this is a competitive industry. There's a lot of people here. You know, you get there and you're like, oh, we're like the kind of best singers, not really the best, but you know, like we're big fish in a small pond in our town.
Sure.
And you get there and like, oh, all these people are like better than we are. So it was a good lesson. And then so we kind of went back to Mississippi, and that was when we were kind of like, maybe there's like a way we could trick the universe into letting us stay in music for a job, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we knew we none of us are individually amazing singers. So we were just like, we got to figure out how to do this. And so,
which the Hitmakers soundtrack would probably disagree with you.
I appreciate that.
You're shining.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I've worked really hard at becoming a better singer. But we played this show in Mississippi maybe 6 months later, and this guy came up to us, Marty Gamlin, rest in peace, just passed away this year. But I really owe any success I have in the music industry to him, because he came up and, you know, he had worked with Alan Jackson and Glenn Campbell, and he came up to us after this podunk show we played, you know, right? And he's like, hey, I think y'all could make it as a career in music. And we were like, what, really? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I've worked in the industry. I think y'all, you could definitely hang.
Wow.
And we're like, really? And he said, y'all should move to Nashville. And we're like, I'm telling you, we were like, really? Okay, sure.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you, like, growing up in a small town, did you have a sense of, I got to get out of here? Or were you thinking, I'm going to raise my family here, I'll find a job here? Or was there an itch to grow and leave?
No, I think there's a big part of me that was like, I'll probably just like stay here until I die. But also there's
what did you think you were going to do?
Well, I wanted to be a professional baseball player for a long time.
Of course.
Yeah. So and then when I was about 16, I realized I'm not good enough to play professional baseball.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So yeah, no, that's all right. And yeah, so I don't know if I really knew I don't know if I had a plan B per se, but I didn't really know what the next step to take would be.
Okay.
So
you get this cosign and move to Nashville.
Yeah, he's like, you should move to Nashville. And I was like, well, cool. We don't have any money. So we were like, we got to save up. Like, we don't have not knocking people who do, and I think a lot of our stories are similar, but it's like we don't have like any kind of family money situation to help us get to Nashville. So we saved up our money for a year and a half. I went to community college, taught tennis lessons, I taught music lessons, I did everything I could and saved up enough money, and we moved all together to Nashville a year after we met Marty. And we moved into this tiny apartment, like popcorn ceilings on the wall, you know, that vibe. And it's just like, and ironically, it was a 2-room apartment, but it was like probably kind of nicer than our house in a lot of ways. But I just remember thinking like the world is our oyster. We are here. And I was fortunate that I started playing cello because I ended up going to Belmont University on a full ride with cello.
You did?
Yeah, which is like so random. A lot of people don't know, but
that's incredible.
Shout out to my granddad for driving me to Hattiesburg.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Every Friday, yeah. So it was kind of funny because I thought that I sucked at cello because no one else in my state played. I had nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was just like, yeah, I don't really know if I'm any good.
That's an interesting segue. I didn't realize that you went to Belmont on a full ride, no less. But I feel like I know a lot about Berkeley. I don't know. I obviously have lived in Nashville for a year and a half, nearly 2 years. So I know a little bit about Belmont, but explain the culture at Belmont and what it's like to go there. For people that don't know, Belmont is one of the most prestigious music centered universities in the South.
Yeah, I would say so.
That's in the country, but it's
no, for sure in the South. Yeah, there's not a ton of options, I think, when it comes to like music universities, but I think it's probably the best or one of the best in the South for sure. I think the best thing about Belmont is it just gets you to Nashville. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, people always ask me like, oh, should I go to school for music and all this stuff? It's like, I don't know what your goals are. Like, it's not necessary for sure, I would say.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest part of Belmont was it just gave me a reason and excuse to like get to Nashville and start meeting people and kind of get my feet under me.
For sure.
And so, yeah.
For sure.
I had a good experience at Belmont.
Yeah.
And nothing I learned there ended up kind of pertaining to what I ended up doing in music. But
I was very much the same way. I'm like, get me to Los Angeles, I'll figure it out. Like, 100%. And however I need to just pin myself there through school or otherwise, whatever.
Exactly.
So, no disrespect to the university I went to, but
no, not at all.
The location was the most important part because in our industry, just getting in and starting to get the experience under your belt really is the education you need.
Yeah, I always say you got to be present to win, right? So it's like it got me present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the sisters question. What did you learn about women?
I learned to trust women's instincts. I think there's a lot to be said. I mean, obviously everyone has instincts, but I think that women just have like better intuition emotionally, just naturally than, especially me. I can't speak for all guys, but I've noticed that like both of my sisters are way more perceptive when it comes to like social, emotional situations than I am.
Yeah.
And that carries over into the writing room as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you really learned how to trust them. That's amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have complete trust in both of them.
You can tell by how you write with women too. You really give them the space and the respect to put their ideas on the table, which is amazing,
100%,
which is great.
Yeah.
So you moved with your sisters to Nashville, and then kind of just tell me how you got into the writing circuit in Nashville.
Yeah. So we played a gas station.
Yeah.
Nursing homes to gas stations. You know what?
I mean,
there's no ego here. I'm just like, all right.
Why waste your time?
Right?
With anything else.
I mean, essentially, like we played this gas station and we met this guy named Rutherford. Shout out Rutherford, who iconic Nashville songwriter, has written, you know, Grammy songs for like Dolly Parton, Brad Paisley, all sorts of people, Tim McGraw, and he heard us play and it was like this kind of community party type thing, and he was like, hey, I would love to write with y'all. And we're so stupid, we were like, oh, we can write, we don't need your help to write, you know, because we'd kind of written 3 or 4 songs at this point.
Wow.
And I didn't know songwriter was a thing, and we were kind of like offended, you know. He's like, no, like I'm good at this. Like I'm Grammy, whatever, you know, like y'all should work with me.
Wow.
We're like, dude, we're good, you know. Like,
that's hilarious.
So then I think we went home. We're like, oh, we might should like reconsider this. And so, anyways, Rivers ended up being like my biggest mentor for the first few years I was in Nashville. Taught me all about co-writing.
Yeah.
How the industry worked. Introduced me to a lot of people. It was such a big blessing to meet him really early on in the process in Nashville.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I do feel like some artists do have that mentality where songwriters feel more like competition versus an assist, like help. Did you have that mentality? I mean, it sounds like you kind of did when you were approached.
Yeah, I
by
mean, I'm
him.
a pretty competitive person.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that plays into that scenario, but like one thing I learned real quickly was, especially in the Nashville community, it's all built around like supporting each other. And I think if you don't learn that, you will be ostracized pretty quickly in the Nashville community.
Which brings me to my next question. I wanted you to explain to me the politics in Nashville and what it's like to be a songwriter in Nashville, because it's unlike any other community.
Yeah,
I
mean,
say.
It's Music City, right? So it's like the entire city, I think I said this on the show, but the entire city is built around music. It's like, I don't know anywhere else in the world where the identity of an entire city, obviously music's a big deal in LA and Miami, but you're just as likely to meet someone wanting to be an actress as a songwriter.
Sure.
In Nashville, that is not the case. Like you're going to meet people all over the city in a lot of random ways, kind of going back to that where great ideas come from. It's like from all different walks of life, and they're all striving for the same exact goal.
It's true. I always do like the Uber driver test in Los Angeles. Like if you tell your Uber driver you're a songwriter, it's like, wow, like that is incredible. I haven't had one of you in my car, since last year or something like that, or ever. And then in Nashville, it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, of course.
Where you have a round coming up?
Right.
It's just like very, run of the mill. Like because it's just flooded and inundated.
It is
with writers.
Yeah, I've heard. I don't know what the real stats are, but I heard there's like 50,000 professional people want to be professional songwriters just in Nashville.
It's crazy.
It's something crazy like that. Okay, we have the stats in from Lauren. So yeah, over 30,000 professional songwriters in Nashville. Out of those, only 1,500 signed. Out of those, only 700 are making a living doing music. And I don't know what the numbers are on like ones who have had hits, but it's very, very small.
And is it very competitive because of that?
Yeah, of course. Say? I mean, I was in Nashville for 8 years before I got a deal. Wow. Yeah, I couldn't. I that's a whole story, man. Yeah, it was.
Oh my goodness.
I was trying everything. Yeah, I could not figure it out for the longest time.
Why do you think it took so long?
I wish it hadn't. Sometimes I do think like, oh man, I really burnt some years of my life, like trying to get people to understand that I was good at what I do, which might sound cocky or something, but like I have always had like, I think you have to have this weird, blind, slightly narcissistic self-belief that like,
I'm going to make it.
I don't care what anyone says. I'm really good at this.
Yes.
Or I can figure this out.
Yes.
And I think if you don't have that, like it's going to be a really, really hard road.
Oh yeah, I think
maybe a short road.
I think people talk about ego in always a negative context, and I think for entertainment based industries, it's a positive thing to a certain extent, and you just have to learn how to manage it and cap it and not let it fuse into your personal life in negative ways.
100%.
But that ego is your gasoline through uncomfortable situations.
100%.
And I always say to creatives, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are 100% right when you walk into those rooms.
Wow.
So if you don't think...
Whitney's always got the bars. It's crazy.
So if you don't think that you're going to write that hit song, you're not.
100%.
And your confidence will swallow you, or your lack of confidence will swallow you alive in those sessions. You'll spiral your way right out of them. I
could not agree more. Yeah. I mean, not saying I didn't doubt myself, because I did, and I have stories about that, but it's like, I mean, I think, I did have this thing in my head. I went down Music Row probably, I don't know how many times, and I got told no by every single publisher.
Wow.
And then I remember one time I was signed with ASCAP at the time, and they like threw this showcase for me and then invited like all the publishers together. And then like all the publishers collectively like said no, like none of them called me afterwards. I remember calling the ASCAP guy and being like, hey, like who's calling? Like, what's the word? Cause I was like, I killed that,
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, nobody. He's like, this is one small company. And then I met with them and they never talked to me again. So
wow.
I will say I developed a definite chip on my shoulder.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm a competitive person. I was like,
Yes.
I'm going to show all these people that they're not right and they're going to eat all these words one day. I was like, I'm going to prove everyone wrong. Not like, hopefully it doesn't come across in a way of like, I was like not treating people the right way. But this is definitely just like my mentality of like, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to jump through 15 hoops where other people could just like jump through one.
Yeah.
I'm going to break down the door where some people can just knock and it opens. You know what I'm saying? So that was definitely my mentality. And but still, it took a really long time. But my whole life changed the day I met Ashley Gorley. So Ashley was the first person to not only see my talent, but to like kind of put his money where his mouth was, if that makes sense.
He was your first pub deal?
He was, yeah. And it was, he's the first person who gave me a chance. And in a weird way, he didn't even like, even the way I got signed with him was not like he heard me and was like, you're getting a deal, kid. It was like, I met with him and he was like, this is kind of cool. Like, keep in touch. One of those.
Sure.
And so I realized that he loved to play basketball. So I was like,
man.
I'm going to go play basketball with him. So I hit him up like, dude, anytime you're playing basketball, like, let me know. I want to come play. And so I would go.
Ben, you're so smart.
I would go play basketball with him. And I remember, I'm not very good at basketball, by the way. Out of all the sports I'm good at, basketball is not even on there.
Really?
No. I'm tennis and like that kind of stuff. I'm good. Paddle sports, basketball, way down there. The first time I went to his game, I'm like very nervous. There's artists there and I'm not very good at basketball. I'm just kind of here to hang. Yeah. And I remember I got past the ball, and the first time I touched the ball, I take 2 steps, which is a travel. Oh, no. And then I realized I traveled. And then I look around, no one said anything. And so then I freaked out and I was like, well, I'll just shoot it. And I shot the ball and it goes over the goal.
No.
Over the goal and lands in like his shed, and it's like all these tools are falling over.
You're trying to get
and I'm just like, I want to die. I want to die right now.
In front of Ashley Gorley.
Oh, in front of everyone in the industry who's anybody. I'm just like, I just made a fool of myself. I'm just, my face turns completely red. I just remember Ashley goes like, well, that was something. And I was like, jeez. I was like, I blew it. I was like, that's it. I will never get another shot. Yeah. So, but anyway, I didn't blow it, and I would say, hey, after we play, like, if you wouldn't mind, can you listen to my songs and tell me why they suck?
Yeah.
And he told me to this day, that's why he did that. Cause he said, I'd never had anyone phrase it like that.
Genius.
Cause he said, I knew you were willing to learn. And I was like, all I want to do is figure out why I'm not good enough or how I can get better.
Totally.
And so he did, and play him these songs. And I think I did like one meeting, and he kind of broke down like, oh, this song doesn't work because of this. And it was like, it's like, cool. And then I met with him a second time, and I had a song that I had literally played up and down Music Row. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think this, going back to that blind narcissism, I was like, I think this song is good. I didn't know if it was like super special, but I was like, I think this song is competitive, right?
Yeah.
I knew it was good. It was competitive. And I played it for him. He's like, well, text me that song. And so I texted it to him. And then at 1 a.m., I think the next morning, I got a call. And it was like, oh, yeah, Charlie Puth. And I was like, in the studio recording your song right now. And this is like right after Attention had come out.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm unsigned. I have nothing going on. And I'm like, I've been trying for years to get anybody to care about anything. And now like the biggest artist in the world is recording an outside song, which he had never really done. So,
and how soon after the basketball incident was this?
Oh, that first incident?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we had played a couple more times. So maybe like a couple months or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, not a long time.
Not a long
between
time. Lows
top
and
to bottom.
lows and highs. Yes. Oh, it was all lows for a long time.
Things can change fast, kids.
Yeah. Even then, and I still do believe like one song can change everything.
Yeah.
And it changes
That's a fast turnaround though. That's amazing.
Well, it's 8 years.
For 8 years for an overnight though.
8 years for an overnight. Yeah, I could take that. So yeah, so that song obviously changed my life. I went from having no interest from everybody to suddenly being like a flavor of the week, where everybody's like, oh my gosh, have you heard about this guy? And I'm taking meetings with the same people who like told me no. And now they're like, oh, well, we knew there was something there, like all that stuff.
Of course.
And so, and shout out to Ashley, he sent that song to Charlie with like no deal in hand for me or anything. He just like sent it.
Wow.
And just because he was like, this is a great song and I'm happy to connect. That's like the Nashville mentality where I think everybody's willing to like help each other.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was like, no, Ashley's my dude after that. And so I was like, no matter what happens or what deals I get offered, I want to work with you. So
amazing.
That's how I ended up working with him.
Okay. So you're in Nashville, you're writing hits in Nashville, but they're kind of predominantly like pop at first. And then you get into the country game. You have 11 number ones, Ben. Yeah. Which is insane.
Yeah. One rock number one in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weezer.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I've been to one of your number one parties. They're iconic.
Yeah, they're fun.
And amazing. Yeah. Okay. So this great career already, when you got presented with the Hitmakers opportunity, what was your first thought?
Well, you presented it to me.
I did.
So
I did.
I didn't really know what to think. I think, so yeah, the way it came about, I think, well, actually, you tell me, how did this happen?
So I got a call from a producer on the show that asked me, I think about 8 out of the 12 people had already been casted, thought of you immediately.
Yeah.
And so they called you. Tell me what that conversation was like.
Yeah, it was funny. I think we were on the road opening for Tim McGraw, actually. And I was like backstage.
You're always at a camp when we got to get
I
in
know,
touch
it's
with
always
you.
something happening. And I was like hanging outside the arena, and Britt called and kind of pitched the concept for the show, like this kind of following songwriters and growing the spotlight of songwriters, and which is something I'm very passionate about. And I mean, I'm very much like say yes and then figure it out as we go. So
our whole cast, that seems to be jump first, ask questions later.
Jump first, ask questions later. Yeah, I honestly did not think about it very hard. I was just like, yeah, this sounds like a fun opportunity. And so, next thing I know, I think that was only like 2 months before we started filming.
Yeah.
And then I found out later it had been in the works for a long time, show.
The show had been going on. I think the first interviews were like 2 years. Like my first
years.
my first interview for a show like this was 2015.
Jeez.
So me and Jay Hart and Trey, Adam Davila from Dun and Dun Productions was trying to make this show back then.
Wow.
They hadn't quite brought on Harvey Mason yet.
Right.
And their media company. So that was our first round of interviews. When it was time for him to go round 2 with making the show, we got called for it. So the first interview I remember for this round for Hitmakers was 2021.
Okay.
So about 3 years in between, but you had 2 months between knowing about it and
I just
being
assumed
on
that was
it.
the same for everybody.
So
and
you
then
didn't
I
have
got
time
there.
to think your way out of it.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, and then it almost felt like in a way like I don't know, I kind of felt like it wasn't going to happen because I don't know if everybody knows this, but like we kept kind of getting these fake starts on the show. Like they'd be like, all right, we need you next week in Miami to be ready to go to Bahamas on this day. And then the day before it'd be like, oh, we had to push,
Yeah.
So that happened like 3 or 4 times.
Our publishers hated us.
Yeah, I mean, I was canceling a lot of, and then it got to the point where at the end I just wouldn't cancel stuff because I just knew. I was like, I'm just assuming this is not going to work out. But it was kind of wild how
So many
much it got
moving
pushed.
parts.
There's so many moving parts, and I wasn't mad at anybody. It was just kind of like, I wonder if this is actually going to happen. I showed up on the show and I really didn't know. You were the only person I knew.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Jay Hart, right?
Well, Jay wasn't at the first camp.
That's right.
So I showed up to tons of cameras and all these people I don't know, and
You're the only country writer. They threw you in the closet to sleep.
Yeah, look, this is breaking news. Everybody got these beautiful bedrooms. One of my favorite parts of the show is when Tommy says, I said, oh, is this big bed by the pool yours, Tommy? And he said, probably.
And you said, well, what did you say after that? You're like,
I was like, all right.
you're like, I'll be it or something.
yeah,
It was very cute. It was very cute.
Yeah, for whatever reason, they told me, they were like, we didn't think anybody else would be okay with this. So they gave me this room that was essentially a closet. And I'm sleeping in it's not even a pull-out bed or couch. It's like a pull-out chair. It's like a little chair in this room.
It's like a cold-blooded day one of a reality show.
There's like a huge window that like looks right at the sun in the morning. There's no blinds or curtains.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like very difficult. Honestly, I didn't sleep all week.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the sun would come up. We were staying up till 2 filming, and then the sun would come up and I'd be awake. There was like it was kind of tough.
Oh
and then I was right by the kitchen, so like when the film crew came in the morning,
You heard it
I
all.
heard them all.
I mean, what were your anxieties when you first got to Bahamas, or were you anxious at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was just anxious, kind of like first day of school kind of vibes, just because I was like, I don't know anybody, and I'm not like intimidated or anything like that, but I think it's very much like, just like, I wonder if these people are going to like me or if I'm going to get along with them. I mean, it's like very much first day of school vibes. It's not like, oh, I wonder if I can like hang in a room or, you know what I'm saying? It's very much like, well, we got to film reality content for weeks and weeks and weeks. Like, I really hope we all get along.
And it is a weird process because we're not like fully getting to know each other because the cameras are there. So we're
getting to know each other on camera.
And again, like and those first 2 episodes, I do think are reflective of that energy of like, what is this? And who are these people? And not just from you, but for all of us, we're all trying to get our footing.
Yeah. We didn't know exactly what we were making.
Right. Yeah, and then by the end it changes. But.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I remember, I mean, just so people know, I mean, the production was like, we wake up at 10 or whatever, and they would mic you at 10, and then we'd film until like 1 or 2, and then we go to the studio, and then we would write for 3 hours, and then we go to a dinner and film that, and then go back, listening party, film that, go back to the house, film until 2 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
I have a massive respect for these. I mean, I don't know if every reality show is like that, but I was like, this is a lot more work than I expected.
It's a lot. And all of that for months and months of filming is edited down to 6 episodes that are 36 minutes. It's actually
so much
crazy.
is left out. Yeah, it's wild. But
shout out our editor.
Yeah, Megan.
Megan, we love her.
Yep.
Who'd you click with right away?
I clicked with Seven and Tommy right away. And this is the magic of writing, because we'd been together for a day and a half already, kind of filming the house stuff and getting there in Miami, which got cut. But, and you kind of know their names and you're kind of getting a feel for them. And we spent 3 hours in the writing room, and you get to know somebody on a deep level.
Right.
And not like we sat around and sang Kumbaya and told each other secrets that we never told anybody, but you just get a sense for how people's brain works and and when you're thinking of a concept, how they think. It's a chemistry thing, right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody said it's like blind dating, it is completely like blind dating. I've never been on blind dating or speed dating or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to click with Tommy quickly when the first day he said he loved Teenage Dream by Katy Perry, because that's also one of my top albums of all time. I just think that's a perfect album. I think Teenage Dream is like one of the best pop songs
Shout
of all
out Bonnie
time.
McKee.
Yeah, of course.
Who I went to high school with, actually.
That's amazing. We'll find that out in your episode.
Yeah.
So I knew I was going to, I just like, okay, we have a lot of common ground on like, I think what we think is cool.
Right.
Seven, I honestly had never heard, I didn't know Seven. And I wasn't familiar, honestly, with anything she'd written or anything. I studied before the show. I looked her up and kind of saw what she'd written. So I was like unfamiliar with her. And she and I clicked so fast because one of her things she says is like she doesn't have an ego. And I definitely try not to have an ego as well. So
so those two you clicked with right away. Yeah. Okay, I want to fast forward to some of your like highlighted moments in the show. I guess the first question is what do you wish made the show, and what do you wish was out of the show?
Well, I can think of what I wish was out, but what I wish made the show is just more of me writing, and I think everybody feels like that a little bit, and I understand why a lot of the writing was like cut, probably because a lot of people and the muggles out there, not in music people, but they might just think the writing is a little too dense, maybe. And I think also part of my narrative was a little bit like fish out of water, but like there's a lot of songs that I'm like, okay, I know. It's specifically like even Mile High, like I came in with that chorus and that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I actually came up with it while I was like peeing in the bathroom, like outside the session. Yeah. And I had that whole melody. I came up with that whole melody.
Did they show that?
No, they didn't show that. I think there's aspects of the show where I'm like, I wish it showed me doing my job a little more.
Right.
But one other thing I wish made the show is like every session I did, we had 2 songs.
Yes, you did. Power Hour.
We had Power Hour like from the first day. I think every session I never got less than 2 songs. Except the one with Jenna and Trey and Harv.
Got it.
But
I mean, we kind of had opposite journeys, because I feel like if there was any drama to be had with me, it was in the beginning.
Sure.
But you kind of stayed out of the fray until we got to Cabo.
Yeah.
So we start with our session.
Mexican air.
I think we start to, there was those earthquakes.
That's true.
Those 3 earthquakes when we first arrived. That was our foreshadow that things were changing for Ben.
Yeah.
The ground was shaken up a little bit. Yeah. I wouldn't say controversial, but there was our session with Tommy where things start to get a little bit dicey. Explain why you were frustrated in that session and why you think that session didn't go as well as we had hoped.
Yeah, I think it went better than it was portrayed on the show. Like we actually got a really good song. Like I said, I got 2 songs every session just in case for this.
Just in case.
But this is where it backfired, because our first song was actually really good, and then of course they picked our second song.
Right.
That we were like, should we even play this?
We were like, this is trash.
This is not great.
We were like, yes, totally.
Yeah, and so of course they picked that one because it's more interesting to have that narrative. Yeah, they didn't use this interview from me, but I had an interview where it's like, let me name all the Usher songs I know. Yeah.
And cut.
And that's it.
Okay, got it.
So that was like, I was like, I have no idea how to write, because we didn't even know we were writing for Usher till we get there. So there's like no way to study. There's no way for me to like,
which is your
I was like, I would of course try to like figure out how to get, but it's like you show up and we're talking to L.A. Reid, and then it's like, okay, go write a song for Usher, and I'm like, I have no idea how to do this
for sure.
And
well, in that session in particular, I think one of the reasons it was tough, it's not like you and I can't pull out a guitar and write a great song.
100%.
But for Usher, it's synth heavy. He wanted a roller skating vibe. So it's not necessarily something in 1 to 2 hours we can just write on guitar and fly. But that being said, we did in the second song.
We actually did.
Still did it.
I think our first song was the good one.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the second one was the not good one that they used.
Not good one.
So yeah, that is definitely something. Obviously, I get why they didn't use it. It didn't support the narrative for that. Where it'd hard to be like, I'm super frustrated with Tommy, and then we play a song that's actually pretty good. So it was like I was frustrated with Tommy, and then of course they ended up using the not as good song. But it is what it is.
I feel you. I loved how vocal you were about it with Tommy and also on the show. I thought that was great. You didn't really, what I liked about how you showed up on the show is you did show up authentically, and we always got your real opinion about things. You didn't really censor how you actually felt.
Yeah.
Which does lead me.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't really, one of my things is like, I always say like clear is kind. I didn't come up with that. Somebody else said that, but it's one of my mottos. I'm always like, I don't want to talk behind people's back. I don't want to be passive aggressive. Like those are two things that I am scared of being. That is in my core of my being. I do not want to be passive aggressive. I do not want to be unclear.
Where'd you get that from?
99% of life is communication. And being a good communicator will solve like so many issues.
Yeah.
And you know, and on the show, you saw where I wasn't as good of a communicator as I should have been in the situation with Jay Hart. But in general, I have found that if you are like direct and honest, it clears a lot of the BS out of life.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's so easy to write with you is because the directness and that honesty just saves time and just cuts through a lot. So if you're not taking things personally and internalizing these things, you can get your end goal faster. And that's, I think, something that you do so well. Okay, so that honesty takes us to the episode of Can't Relate.
Yeah.
We're sitting at the second to last night in Cabo.
Correct. Yeah.
We've had this session in Nashville where there's a brief conversation about the concept Can't Relate. Maybe we start there. Why don't you talk to me about in Nashville what it felt like to you when you heard the title and how that all came about?
I mean, I think the first thing is like, and this obviously isn't shown in the show, like Jay is like, besides you, the only other person I know from this show who I've worked with. When I came to LA, he was like my first write I ever had in LA. Jay and I go way back, and I love him.
Sure.
And part of the whole thing is the fact that we were friends. And I was like, I can be like this with Jay.
Sure.
Because like we're friends. I'm not worried about him, you know, like not being my friend. I'm just going to say what I'm thinking because we're on that level in a way.
Yeah.
So that's like a little background. And I don't think the show delves into that at all. And I think I even said on one of they were like, would you ever work with Jay again? I was like, of course. Like,
that's actually really interesting. Do you feel like you would have handled it differently if it was just another?
I actually think so.
Wow.
Yeah. I think if it was somebody like I didn't know as well, it would have I potentially would have played a little different. I don't really know for sure. But the interesting dynamic of this is, which might be too dense for most people, but maybe there's some songwriters and creatives on here. But we get titles from conversations all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of, I mean, I've hits that have bought our, house and stuff from conversations.
Sure.
And you hear something and you clock it and you write it in your phone, right?
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this situation was instead of just hearing it and clocking it in my phone, I shared it out loud.
Right.
Which is unorthodox.
Right.
And kind of, in Jay's defense, kind of an odd thing because most people wouldn't share it, I think. You would just kind of clock it and just be like, I'm going to write that later. In this instance, I was like, we should do this later.
Sure.
So, and I've done that before, and I haven't done that before. And there's no right or wrong either way.
Yeah.
The one thing I misremembered on the show, and maybe Jay did too, was I thought he potentially had said that as a lyric. And in actuality, he was just talking. We were just in conversation, and he said it.
Got it.
Yeah, that was a little different.
It was such a quick moment. I don't think people realize we're cognizant and we're dialed in, but in a different frequency. There's a lot that we are missing. There's a lot. I mean, sure. I don't even really remember that conversation, to be honest. But I mean, I think I already had, the irony is that we can all relate because I had a chorus called Can't Relate that I'm actively pitching.
Yeah.
But
I remember that too because when I wrote it down, and I'm pretty anal about this stuff, but when I wrote it down, I wrote Jay's name, And I wrote you had already written that title.
Wow.
So I knew that if we did it, we'd have to be aware of that dynamic.
Okay, so this conversation is had. Shoot to Cabo. You hear the Can't Relate being played out.
Yeah.
What are you feeling in that exact moment that you hear the song or the title?
I kind of thought, so the turnaround from Nashville to Cabo was very fast.
It was.
It was like one day. So it was, in actuality, maybe 3 or 4 days after the session with Jay in Nashville. It was very quick.
It was short, yeah.
It was very short. So, even though it was a blip in the radar, I did remember having that conversation because in fact, I had looked at the title and when we got to Cabo and I thought, oh, well, if I get in with Jay, like we should write that.
Right.
And so it was kind of on my mind in that way.
And just really quickly, I want to also give some context to Jay's experience. That was Jay Hart's first session.
Sure.
The Nashville session where that conversation got brought up, he had so many other things on his brain. So I'm not surprised that went right past him because 100%. He was inundated with all this new energy and playing catch up to us. So it actually makes a lot of sense. And I think people need to understand that. I
obviously have no animosity towards Jay.
Right.
He's my guy. And his point was so valid on the show. He's like, obviously, if I knew this, I would not have done it in front of our peers and on the freaking show where there's cameras.
Yeah.
So obviously, no intent. And maybe another good thing to say is like, I'm not the kind of guy who's like, I'm gonna come for your publishing. That is definitely not my personality. I've definitely helped people write hits that I didn't put my name on because I was just like, I'm just down to help. I'll throw out a lyric and I'll say, hey, move the second verse to the first verse or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm totally willing to help out anybody and do that kind of stuff. The weird thing on this one was like, it was like 3 days ago. Even if he had written that 6 months later or something. So in my head, I thought the conversation was going to go like this. Hey, you remember we actually had that idea together? And he'd be like, dude, I know. Isn't it sick? I thought he was gonna. I was like, "There's no way he doesn't remember this." You can see if you're looking at me, like while the song's going on, I'm like smiling. I'm not like I'm not fuming.
Yeah, you're kind of just like mentioning it to Steven.
I mentioned it to Steven, like, I wonder if I should say something. Obviously, it didn't show. Like 30 minutes later, he and I talked, and we're like, and I was like, dude, yeah, that definitely is not how I meant that to come across. And he was like, dude, I'm sorry for the way that played out too. So, and he was like, it's all good because we're on that level.
Right.
And then, of course, you can't show that. But it was kind of gave us an opportunity to kind of show people like, oh, this is how you can work out disagreements professionally.
Right. And I'm sure that was hard for you because the cast didn't know what was going on.
That was the hardest part, rewatching it.
Sure.
Yeah, like I think even like, Chi is like talking and Jenna's talking. You even say something too where I'm just
I had it wrong also. I didn't understand. And I was in the original session and I had it wrong.
And look, I even had it wrong a little bit where I thought he said it as a line and he just said it in conversation.
Right.
And this is something everybody should know. They don't let us watch the show. And I've had a lot of people be like, hey, well, how come once everybody watched it, they didn't just say, oh, I see what happened. I was like, they didn't let us watch it because they were like, well, in real life, you can't watch back rights. So they wanted to keep it realistic.
Sure, until we saw it and then it all is contextualized and makes sense.
This is what I don't want to happen to people. If you don't say something, then it eats you up forever. And I know that happens to people all the time. And for me, it's like the cards are going to fall like they were. If he didn't, feel like obviously we had the benefit of the camera in the end, but if he felt a type of way and then I felt a type of way and we never found that middle ground, that would have been fine too, but I knew I put it out there and like I said what I needed to say. Probably there's people in the songwriting community who would say this as well, like, hey, Can't Relate is not like, it's not Give Heaven Some Hell or some crazy concept that is like not everybody could just have that idea.
Sure.
But there's 500 people out there right now who have that title in their phone. My whole thing was not coming at it like this is like a specific title that only I can write. It was not that at all. It was just the fact that we had that conversation that we should write it together. Yeah.
I mean, the irony of the title, I just can't. It's it's incredible.
And it's an incredible song.
It is. And it's out now.
It's out now.
Everybody
go stream it.
Okay. So this has been great. I feel like we got a chance to know you a lot. But let's play our favorite games.
Okay.
Blind ranking. The biggest Ben songs. Okay. Charlie Puth, Patient.
Oh yeah, that's a special one to me because it was my first big cut. I'm gonna go with 3.
All the Way. Big X the Plug.
Oh yeah.
Bailey Zimmerman.
Yeah, that one's special to me because it's the first #1 I wrote with my sisters.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's one that we wrote by ourselves.
Oh.
Yeah, which was cool. There was no one you know. And then of course we sent the stupid people of TikTok, of course, are just like, you didn't write Big X's part. No, we did not write Big X's part.
Totally. When we say
People of
co-write,
TikTok, we wrote the chorus of the song, and Big X put his rap on it. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, but that was a really, really special one. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Give Heaven Some Hell.
That might be number 1 for me.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Truck Bed by Hardy.
That was my first number 1 I ever produced. That one goes so hard at shows. That one's so fun.
It does.
I think the risk we took on that song were so fun. How it, you know, it seems like it's this very kind of contained song, and then at the end it just like goes crazy. We have the drums come in, the double kick pedal, and like it goes for it, and it still worked. Like I love being able to take chances and be creative, and then it still commercially convert. So I guess 4.
So that leaves One of Them Girls.
I mean, I guess it's 5.
Yeah.
That was my first
But
number 1.
do you have a little backstory behind it?
Yeah, it was my first number 1 I ever wrote.
Was it?
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, and I was on the way.
Right down to the 5 spot.
Right down to the 5. Put it at the bottom. Yeah, no, that's a special one. I was driving down to Mississippi to see my mother for Mother's Day, and you know, I got the call like, "Hey, I need one more song for my record," and I turned around in the median. Wow. On the way home, and I was like, "I'll be there." Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah.
Bailing on
a
your
Sunday
mom?
On a Sunday night. Yeah.
Oh my
Sunday night. We started at 11 o'clock that night, and then we finished it at about 3 a.m.
Oh my God.
Like a very LA vibe, right?
Very LA vibe.
And then he cut it the next morning at 9 a.m. Wow. And it was a number 1, I think, like 6 months later.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I love stories like that.
Yeah.
Let's go down the cast.
Okay.
Okay. 1 word adjective for every cast member. You know the drill.
Yes.
Blue.
Special.
Chi.
Spiritual.
Jenna.
A hustler.
Trey.
Empathic.
7.
A vibe.
Steven.
Firecracker.
Harv.
Man, there's a lot of words you could say for Harv in there.
Plenty.
Yeah, they all work. Just talented.
Tommy.
Perceptive. Most perceptive person I've ever met.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like
You're
that
second.
adjective
You're up
for
there.
him.
But yeah.
Yeah. J Hart.
He's well-rounded.
Well-rounded.
Yeah.
Faraz.
Who is Faraz?
Who is he? That's the answer.
That's
who
the
is
answer.
Faraz?
That was his answer on his podcast. So that's
perfect.
Yeah.
Whitney. Me. Better make it good, or else I'm walking out.
we got a lot more episodes to film.
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's a lot I could say about you, but I think professional.
Oh.
You're a professional.
Thanks, dude.
In everything you do.
I appreciate that.
And that's not meant to be like you're not a very well-rounded person, but like I know when I'm in the room with you or when I'm out of the room with you, like you handle everything very well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Ben.
So I've got another segment I want to go into. No.
You're a delight as always.
Oh, man.
I think this was great. I think we got a chance to know you more. So we got more episodes to do.
Thanks for having me on my own podcast.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
All right, that was fun.
All right.
Okay, let's do yours
see you
now.
soon.